All right, so here we have a 362, or no, sorry, 361. It is a no spark, and walk you through how we determine that real quick. Take the ZAT4 tester here. Of course, put a new plug in it. The plug that was in it had a removable top, which is a big no-no for these newer saws. So you have to have one that is fixed there. And so we inserted a new plug, ZAT4 tester, and we make sure that it's not in off position. And then that's where my head likes to be all the time for some reason. And then we cranked it and got no spark. But anyway, this is how the ZAT4 tester hooks up. And so we're going to now go through and test, I mean not test, but remove the old module and install a new one. Here's the new one. See what she looks like here. Looks like it's a new part number, a 1306, and that's a 1300A. So hopefully this is all new and improved. Looks like we get a new shut-off piece of metal as well. Interesting. Make sure it looks like it'll fit in there. Everything there looks good. Make sure the lead's the right length. High tension lead looks good. All right, so we'll go ahead and take this apart. Now, if you're not videoing like we are right here and you don't have a way to go back and look at it, take a picture where everything goes anytime you do this stuff. Just help make things a little simpler. I'm just going to remove these two screws right here. All the rest of them are right here. And be sure when we pull this out that we clean that mating surface where this goes down to the saw case. We'll set both screws right there. We'll just slide this dude up, and then this one just goes right in the, just retains in the housing. Then we'll just slide this off, and that should be all of that one. We'll make sure that that is super clean right in there. Pull some of that dirt out of there. Matter of fact, I'm going to scrape that junk out of there while we've got it apart. If a bunch of junk builds up around that ignition module, it can get hot. So we'll make sure we get all this out of there, and that way the air can get around it really good and it won't overheat. Alright, that looks pretty good. Now wipe those two spots off. That looks good. Install our piece up in here. Under that. I'm not going to force that in until I get it bolted. Now, there's a tool here we need to use to get our space right. And run this around, and it's going to set right in there. And that looks good. Go ahead and put this wire on while I get my fingers on it. Push that down there, and you can see how that magnet pulls it up in there tight. And then what means we got it right. Just easier to put the gauge in before we get started there. Here's my bolt right there. I'm blind as a bat. That's where the bolt goes. We look here, we've got a little spot here for a wire to lay back there, so I'm going to direct it back there a little bit. No, I don't believe it does. Maybe I believe it sets right there. And that's probably for airflow. A little bit of dirt. That looks good. All right. We'll snug this guy on down. remember where everything's at. I've lost everything in this toolbox. There we go. Now, so we'll go ahead and put that up in there. That's bolted into place. That looks good. Excellent. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this housing on because I want to be able to test it before we get everything back on it. All right, so we got that all cleaned up. Get all that junk off of there. That looks good. Now we'll install this fella. Yeah, all that looks good. Again, when you put the bolts back in, don't tighten any of them until you get them all started. Get them all started here. And we'll flip over the other side and we'll put that new kill switch contact in. Now, a lot of times these just slip off of there. Yeah. We'll push this out of that hole. Get in the right drawer here. We'll pick this guy up. Want to be hateful, isn't it? There we go. Make sure we put it in the same orientation. That looks good. That thing started. There we go. That looks good. All right, that looks like it should. Make sure that comes up and touches. And it does. All right, now. Make sure I don't need dirt laying in there. All right. This attached real quick. Shed this jacket. My goodness, it gets hot in here. That heat works. Now we wouldn't run this saw very long without that piece of plastic on the top, because that's what directs air from the fan across all the cooling fins. We just want to make sure it's going to run.
Smoke this time, that's a good thing.
Leaking out of that valve right there. That is pure fuel though. See if we're having a spark here. Should have had something happen right there. Let's kill that plug-in light for a second over there. Still not seeing a spark. Let's plug it back in.
Plug you got in there's a good one, right?
Yeah.
It'd still be a spark show up where you plug it.
Right, yeah. Or if it, you know, it's even just the wrong kind, yeah. Pump those one out of there. I don't know what's going on there. Unless there's a problem with the magnet in the flywheel. Right there, that should mean good wiring. Yeah. What we're looking for is being open when it's in any of the run positions and very low resistance when it's closed, when the switch is off, and it is. So that's just to verify all that being good. So all of our primary wiring is good. There is a chance that our, I think still, magnet in it. Oh, wait a minute. That thing's missing a piece. Look at that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that until just now. Yep. See if it been dancing around in there any. I guess it could have spit out the top and we'd never seen it up there. Good, feed it through the exhaust port there. Yeah, it's the PTO side that's left. Can't believe didn't see that fin missing. That's what happens when I'm in a hurry. I miss stuff, isn't it? Alrighty, so here we have our nut right here, M8x1 for the flywheel crankshaft. Torque spec on that is 28 Newton meters. So that's what we'll be working with there. I'm going to slide through this and show you a little bit about the, we just kind of talked about it when we were working on it there the other day. Let me scroll through a million pages here, in the 40s if I recall, about the ignition system. And just want to show you what's going on there and kind of why we do what we do there. So here's some things like 100 pages long, 110 or something. Oh, here we go. All right, so ignition system starting here at 7. Now you can kind of see there what it's talking about. And our basic parts here, there's consist of a module and a flywheel. Now there's also a little bit of a harness in there for shut off, but the I kind of walked through checking that with you there, and to make sure we didn't have a short to ground, since it wouldn't work. But we had a we test with the ZAT4 tester, and I showed you doing that, and that does need to be at 1,000 RPM. It'll show you in here that that's what it needs to be at when you do test that part. But let me skip down to that bit. Right here is the picture of that tester, and talking about how it needs to be a minimum of 1,000 RPM. So that's, crank it pretty good. But let me scroll back up here, and it kind of shows the ins and outs of what goes on with that. Back up here to the top, and there we have our module and our pieces, and it's just a very simple system. There's our 2 parts, and that's kind of it. So it goes over how to adjust it, and which I think I showed you that with the little spacer that they include made out of stainless right here to get that right. And dropping stuff here. So we'll roll down through here, and it kind of shows how to test it. And again, there's no timing or anything like that. The only thing you got to check for is that little keyway. If it'll shear, that key will shear that's cast in the flywheel. And I think I showed you that in the video too. But there is a little bit right here with this guy right here. Sometimes you got to watch that little leg spring. Sometimes it will give you trouble, but we again looked for that down in that spark plug boot. Everything in there looked okay. Now, when we looked at our flywheel, we didn't see blue marks on it, which that's what they talk about here. It talks about right in here. I think it talks about the pull off flywheel degrees. There it's talking about the key there. Not sure. We have the right air gap right here. Here's where it talks about the blue spot on the flywheel right here. Have the shoes turned blue, and they did not, but it was missing that piece. And sometimes a flywheel will lose magnetism. It'll won't have the necessary magnetism that it needs, those shoes, and then it'll lose it. And that's what happened here. And I'm going to walk you back through this, and we'll show you all that good stuff here. But anyway, I just wanted to let you look at this tech workshop manual here to kind of show what the troubleshooting starts with right here. Does it run? Is the master control switch working? Everything that looks good, what the plug looked like. And again, of course, ours had the wrong kind of plug in it. It had one with a removable top, which is, I don't run those in any Stihl product, that with a little piece on the removable where the plug wire snaps on. All this stuff looked good, so we passed on that. Everything there was good. Still no spark. So we had no spark, so air gap was good. We had just checked that. We were down to our flywheel. That was really the only thing left. And then, of course, we had a flywheel missing a piece of a fin. And I don't ever like to run one missing a piece because it throws everything out of balance. It'd probably be okay, but I'm not interested in that. We want to turn something out. We want it right. So anyway, with that being said, and everything else testing incorrectly, and again we didn't see that blue, so that's why we didn't change the flywheel first. And given the, if you slide back up here, if you don't get spark, then what they advise you to do is immediately change the ignition module. So it says here ignition is fixed, cannot work. Since there's no mechanical adjustments, cannot go out of adjustment. Let me back up here. It says here there are two spots. Testing is limited to a spark test. A new ignition module must be installed if there is no spark obtained after checking wiring and stop switch were in good condition. And we did. We tested that with a voltmeter. Ohm meter, everything tested good. The mechanical functions tested good, and the continuity tested good. So going by the manual here, our next thing to do was new ignition module. So we put the new ignition module on, and still no fire. So that's when we scroll down. The only other component, as we read here, is the flywheel. And that's something's really hard to test. You can't put a meter on it and test magnetism. I'm sure somebody could. I don't have a magnetism meter. So that is one of those things that every now and then you'll replace when you maybe didn't have to. So what we'll probably do is hold on to that module, knowing that there's a pretty good chance it's okay, and the old one. And again, if this was a customer situation, you could just put the original module back on and not charge them for it. So that and then just charge them for the flywheel. But where this worked out, it's again, I'll keep that for training purpose, and it'll all work out. So, but anyway, and the same with that flywheel, that chip piece, that'll make a really good piece to have for an inspection, because I missed it first time. I didn't even notice it, and had I noticed that first time, that would be the first thing we changed. And it's odd because I didn't see any evidence of where that piece went. It wasn't there. So, but anyway, like I say, that's kind of how all that goes, and we'll go ahead and take you back to the shop. 52 here. I just got done filming putting that thing back together with the new stuff, and realized the camera didn't record it. So I'm going to pull this side cover off so you can see what we've got here. I gotta love technology, but I feel like just wasted 30 minutes there. Well, maybe 20. Let's look at this real quick here. I'll just show you what we've got inside. And that way you can see what's going on. I'll kind of re-walk you through this. And so again, do bear in mind, these do take different length screws. And just so you know, it does run. I just started it for you guys on video, and silly camera wasn't running. So here we have our 3 different screws, or 4 different ones, and 3 of the same, 2 and 1 that's different. So I'm just going to slide this up and just show you what we've got here. This is the new flywheel right here, and it is we used our gauge to verify our distance for our right here. So we're good there. There we go. So that is just where you want it. Again, we put it down in there, push it up tight, snug it down. We're good to go. Now, before we adjusted that finally, again, there's video earlier of just changing the module. But when we put this back on, we used our torque wrench, torque that with the piston stop in, pull the spark plug out, install the piston stop. But you saw that done when we took the flywheel apart, or removed it. You slide that in there, and then rotate it up. And again, you got to be careful not to cram that in the exhaust port, but make sure it is on top of the piston, right at the top of the cylinder. And then you release it. And this side is right-hand thread. The other side's left-hand thread, where the PTO side is. But the fan side here is right-hand thread, so you release it. And now to install it, we torque this back on, correct direction, to 28 Newton meters. So it goes back on at 28 Newton meters, and then again, I had to reposition the flywheel in the other direction, reposition it, the piston stop and everything, so it would hold going the other way, because if you just reverse rotation, the piston comes back down. So that's how that went. Tighten this up, adjusted our ignition module, put our spark plug back in, then put our cover on. Of course, had our plug all, then wired it onto the end, plugged it in, made sure it connected really good, make sure it had a good firm fit, put our cover on. Then lastly, we put our starter recoil housing on. And I was talking about that a minute ago. Now, this time it dropped right into place. Sometimes it doesn't do that. And if you've got a little air gap down here, sometimes you've got to pull on that a little bit to get it to drop in where it needs to into that flywheel. So just don't go horsing on that. And the other thing you got to watch is make sure there's two tabs on the top. If you put the top cover on first, and I'm going to dive, see, make sure you can see those. See, I'll put it on wrong here for you. See how those tabs are sticking up right there? That'll give you a problem. So you want to make sure that you get those under there. And even if you put this on second, it's not a big deal, but if you're going out from this direction. And all those feel good. It went in nice and neat. So then we'll install our screws. And again, I really like these T-handles. I apologize I didn't catch that for you guys. I thought I hit the button, but apparently I did not. So, but anyway, we'll get this thing back together, and it's all pretty self-explanatory. You saw how it all went on that little quick overview. And so we'll just run these guys in. Again, I just run them down till they get snug, because they go really fast. If you don't tighten one of them, again, you start them all before you tighten any, but I found if I just run them down, you can see how fast that thing will turn. Just something to build a little speed in the job. And then I just crisscross these when I tighten them up, run across them here, and then we'll go ahead and fire this thing up and let you hear it run. So that's what we're in the business of here. So I'll bring this thing around here for you and let you hear it run real quick. So make sure a chain brake is locked. Since I just had it running, I'm just going to the on position, and then we'll start. All right, good deal.